Welcome back to the Inner Kingdom series by CrownCast. Here we begin with context, not symptoms, because mental health does not live in isolation. It lives inside history, inside responsibility, inside identity, and inside survival. Today we enter a conversation about men, not statistics, not stereotypes, but fathers and sons, protectors and providers, leaders, builders, and continuity carriers. Across cultures and generations, men have been taught to be strong by being silent, to lead without resting, to carry without showing, to protect everyone else while postponing themselves. And over time, that silence becomes weight. When we talk about indigenous mental health, we are not talking about weakness. We are talking about the psychological cost of survival, that strength of continuity, and the work of healing in systems that were never designed for indigenous life to thrive. This space exists to listen, to learn, and to honor that reality. For many men, especially those shaped by displacement, poverty, discrimination, cultural interruption, and generational responsibility, emotional suppression was not a choice. It was a strategy. A way to stay standing, a way to keep families fed, a way to remain steady when everything else was uncertain. But survival mode was never meant to be permanent. Today's conversation honors that truth. We will speak about the invisible load that men carry, about identity tied to provision, about leadership stress and emotional labor, about intergenerational trauma that lives in the nervous system, and about the quiet courage it takes to finally ask for support. But we will also speak about solutions, about healing pathways, about community, reconnection, about integrating clinical care with cultural wisdom, about sovereignty, personal and collective, as a stabilizer of mental health. Because here, we do not tell trauma-only stories. We speak of resilience alongside struggle, of kinship alongside pressure, of ceremony alongside science, of dignity alongside diagnosis. Healing grows fastest where self-determination exists. Today I am honored to be joined by Dr. Amrit Pattojoshi, who is a premier Indian neuropsychiatrist, educator, and medical strategist whose career is defined by a Midas touch that transforms clinical challenges into national and regional victories. He serves as the Joint Secretary of the SAARC Federation of Psychiatrists and the Honorary General Secretary of the Indian Psychiatric Society, or IPS for short, directing policy for over 1 billion people across South Asia. I'm also joined by the wonderful Dr. Aninda Sidhana, whose work bridges clinical insight with human compassion and whose presence helps bring awareness into light. Welcome into this circle. Let us begin. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of the Inner Kingdom series. Today's episode title is The Weight Men Carry, just Strength, Silence, and Survival. And I am proud to introduce not only Dr. Aninda Sidhana, but also another guest, Dr. Amrit. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Now, I noticed that you both have new titles. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily new. To me, it's new, is it was just brought to my attention, but you both are national presidents, Psychosocial and Mental Wellness Council with the WICCI.
That is a Women's Chamber of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and he is the he for she ambassador and he for and national president for that.
How did you both connect?
We both connect. He's my guide, mentor.
Basically, we're all psychiatrists. Both are psychiatrists. So we both work in the same field. We meet often. So when I was the national secretary, she was my assistant secretary. So we have been together, working together, meeting in meetings, conferences. A lot of events occur in India in terms of mental well-being. We work in certain common areas. So that's how we met.
Thank you. That's a lovely introduction. Now we are going to dive into our topic. So across cultures, men have historically carried roles of protector, provider, and stabilizer. So from both of your clinical perspectives, how does this inherited responsibility show up in men's mental health today?
Yeah, can I start, Aninda, if you permit me? Men first today.
No, you will start. Men's
Sometimes
first.
sometimes I'll start, but thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Like, the Indian system is a patriarchal society where men have a typical stereotypy, females have a typical stereotypy, and they have to, be the roles they have been addressed. And one of the most important things is they are protectors, they are providers, and they stabilize the family. So because of all these things, ultimately a lot of mental health issues come out in men. Like, one of the most important things we see is always there is a pressure to perform. You are the primary caregiver, you are the primary provider of, income, stability, or anything. So we always fear failure. If something happens, what will happen to my family? What will happen to my children? You know. So whenever there is some vulnerability, like we might be discussing later on, there's a lot of anxiety. A lot of the males are taught to suppress their emotions. We are not supposed to, even if there is a marriage in the family, everybody is laughing, you're supposed to sit like this. There's a death in the family, somebody is ill, you're supposed to be the person who has to take it all inside, as if you are born with all those things. So ultimately, what happens is you're not able to verbalize your emotions. You can't tell I love you to your partner. You can't smile to your children. It's you internalize all your emotions and you show only a one face to everybody. Always, because we want to stabilize everything around us. We want to control everything around us. We tend to be a little strict. We tend to be a little over assuming. We tend to take control of everything. And the most important thing is, in a relationship, I always feel the males feel that we will support our female partners. And if I need support, I will not open, because that is a sign of weakness. That is, only women are supposed to cry, women are supposed to show their emotions. Somewhere they have pigeonholed the emotions also into categories. And that in the long run plays havoc with the men's mental health. Before they realize, they internally people are lost. So somewhere the wellness factor reduces as time goes. There's and we see a lot of people who have there is an increased suicide risk. If you look at men and women, one of the major issues with men is completed suicide. We see more in men than in female. So that's one of the major issues, because they bottle up, and one day they can't open up, they can't speak about their emotions, and it ends as the only emotion men express are anger. They might shout, they might become aggressive, they might hit out, they might abuse, and the coping mechanism of men tend to be more into substances. They'll take alcohol, they'll take some drugs to get them on road. That's the only thing what we see in men. Gradually, there is some improvement, but I think we still take our roles very seriously, and we want our children to be like that. We want our sons to behave like us and our daughters to behave like their mothers. I think that's the issue.
Dr. Anita, do you have anything
Yes,
you
of
to
course.
add
So
to that?
absolutely, it is not about today's patriarchal society. So first of all, it's since the time of Stoicism that men have been taught to go to the war. Recently, Sir had only organized the conference, The Unshackling Psychiatry, and I had the talk on gendered cage, unshackle the silence. So, who has built those cages and why? So, until we cannot unshackle the psychiatry, until we unshackle the gendered cages and the human beings inside it. So, why are men being silent? Feelings are there for everybody since birth. Every man feels shy, feels angry, feels happy, and feels sad. Even every woman feels angry. There are no, it's just the cages we have only built ourselves, and the cages can be broken only when we start speaking up. And even one voice becomes powerful when the whole world is silent, as Malala Yousafzai said. So, of course, the men, as Sir said, it is the protector role and the provider role. But nowadays, it should not be there because women are fighting that we are the providers and we are the CEOs. Everywhere in our psychiatric society, in every society, in our houses, every woman is like, it's like empowered women. So then men should also be supported. I have this belief, if you want a man to take care of a home and a household work also, then first be financially literate like him and take his responsibilities and his burdens, because it can't be all the things that he's doing household work also and not able to speak up also. Then you can't make fun of a man that why is he crying or why is he sad. So it should be mutual trust and equality in both the genders and no fight. So everybody is equal these days. No one is going to the war. And so men has and nowadays also, I believe men, that protective factor and the provider, it was earlier like a caregiver, but now they have been turned into the ATM machines, which is not true. They can't be like the ATM machines that they come home and you start fighting and shouting and they can't tell their burdens. So they also need the support. I truly believe that men's mental health is much more important, and mental health cannot be spelled without men. So how can we think about the mental health? And I had proposed also, sir was planning to make a committee on men's mental health. We have been thinking about women mental health, even LGBT mental health. Then why are we ignoring our men? I don't know.
Now, where do you see silence becoming survival rather than strength?
I think silence is more about men. They've been taught to be silent, not to speak out, because masculinity is more about taking everything in and not expressing anything. Masculinity, it's a ill-conceived notion about masculinity, where people talk about silence as more of a silence. So what I want to actually, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, where do you see silence becoming survival rather than strength?
Yes. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. If you look at men from the very beginning have been taught to be silent. People tell don't behave like a woman when somebody speaks out, when somebody emotes. I think the most important thing we tell to people when they come with issues to us is please speak about what are you feeling. Are you feeling good about something? Are you feeling bad about something? We are not mind readers. We are not astrologers that we can read your mind and understand what you want, what you don't want. If you're feeling bad about something and you don't speak out and you don't express, I'll feel that you are very good with what I'm doing with you. It might be anything. It might be me asking you for something. It might, and with time these actually makes you degrade. And somewhere you are thinking that you are surviving, but I don't think so. That is silence. Silence is something which we don't appreciate in people, because what it puts in man is a social animal. If you look at a culture like India, we live in a joint family. We live in a society where we are interdependent on each other, where expressions are very important, because we are adjusting to things, we are adjusting to the environment, and people are also adjusting to us. So silence many times is more about, you know, I'm not just getting the exact point.
Shrinking
Uh,
yourself.
pardon?
To shrink yourself for the societal burdens.
Yeah,
To
it
fit
is
into the
more.
societal stereotype, we shrink ourselves and not speak up.
Yeah, we don't know. It's imbibed in us. Like I'll tell you a simple thing. When I lost my partner, it was assumed that I will not be expressing myself, and I took that role very seriously. I being a psychiatrist, I teaching people. But when it came to me, I was somebody who was very stoical about it. I was very reserved about it. I was just absorbing everything. I was not able to express. And somewhere, if you do all these things, it leads to chronic depression. Alexithymia, what is alexithymia? The inability to express your emotions. It's extreme form of, I tell people who are not able to, at one aspect of depression, somebody is crying more, somebody is expressing more. But yes, there is a cry for help. I understand that this man or this woman is suffering and I'm trying to help her. But when somebody becomes alexithymia, at that moment, somebody is not expressing. It is, I always call it extreme form of a mood disorder. And are you surviving by that? By not expressing, by internally you're killing yourself. Many times, then at a point comes when you're not able to enjoy anything in life. Ups and downs are very important in life. You need to enjoy the ups, and you sometimes need to be sad also. It's very important. That's how the world rotates. You can't have one. Then you become robots. You have no emotions. You have no ability to, express. I think it's better not to survive. I always feel that if you don't have emotions, if you can't express your emotions, if you don't feel, it's like you're just one dead piece of wood. And why would I want? For me, that's not important. I don't want to survive in that sense. You get what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes.
The question is very complicated, but
First of all, it takes
growing up over here in America, I know when I was a kid, my grandparents and my parents always said, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. So we're always taught to kill people with kindness, but also in my adult years, I've learned that in most situations, it's better to kill them with silence than always having a reaction to it.
so
I
people
don't
think who are
know.
silent are very strong people, the mature people. They have all the qualities. I don't think so. A leader has to have the ability to express. Many times this will inhibit. I have unprocessed trauma, like I was talking about something. So I'm silent means I have a lot of unprocessed trauma in me. I might be fearful. It's just if I express, nothing is going to happen. Nothing good is going to happen. It's also a type of learned helplessness I am learning. That if I express also nothing, sometimes this happens. I'm expressing and nothing is happening. So it's better I don't express my emotions. So externally, my silence might be applauded that this man is strong. But internally, it is destroying me. So it's what social media does. Externally, you feel very happy, but internally, you know that you have nobody with you. That's what silence is many times to a male.
Just eat you up inside. You gotta let it out.
And it takes a lot of courage for a
Sometimes.
man to talk about, and I think Sir has spoken first time about this, like losing the partner. So first of all, obviously, silence is not strength, not even for men, not even for women. Women are told to be silent when they are being suppressed, and that is also not the strength. And men are told to be silent all the time.
Oh,
They are not told to express any emotion at all. And how can you expect that? Imagine a woman cannot stay 2 days also without expressing her emotion. She will start having a stomach ache or something, or crying, or after a few days she will be just almost killing the partner. And how can one expect a man not to talk about any emotion at all? But it is being taught by the society, and we are all here performing. We are all here to perform. So I always believe that, as Sir said, we keep on saying that be a man, or why are you behaving like a woman? So there is a series also, be a man. Yeah. So I always say it should be a human. Why be a man? Be a human. Everyone has same feelings. I also have pain. When I got separated, my husband, I truly at times think maybe he is living in the same house. He must be having more pain than me. The same memories he must be getting every day. So that is, everyone has emotions. No one can be escape the emotions and the feelings. It's just they are not allowed to tell. And that silence kills men more than the women. And even patriarchy is also killing men more than the women, because it is making men to be high functioning all the time, and to be winning, and to be silent and not telling about their struggles, which is where, and not seeking help. And of course, seeking help is a sign of strength, not the weakness. So you have to talk, and talk about it, talk about your emotions, not to everyone, but close friends, and or else at least go to the therapist. Journaling is a very good tool, but yes, you have to have some outlet, something to talk.
Now, how do we feel about when, well, I have to ask this to Dr. Amrit. How do you feel, like most times if the wife is angry and she gives the silent treatment? Like I know most men, they're like, I have peace. I don't have to hear her. Like, yes.
I'll tell you one thing here. Here, suppose we assume that the male is going out to work and coming back home. Let's talk about typical Indian family. So he is, subject to a lot of things. He goes in a public transport, he's discussing with a lot of people. He goes to the office, he's subjected to a lot of stress and all, and he comes back. And the wife, for the last 12 hours, is waiting for the husband to come back. She wants a little bit of conversation, and the husband is not giving any attention. Sometimes this fighting and anger is a means of getting some attention. Until unless the wife is not getting angry, the husband is not giving attention, not giving time, not. So it is one way of asking for attention. But the husband also knows that he cannot get into a one-to-one. It's sometimes tough fighting with a female. They'll catch hold of one point and they'll. I'm not talking about, the brain, people, the
It's
brains
general,
are
of course.
different. You need to accept that. So they might hold on to one point. I am a male, I'll speak something, just like that. And the female will catch hold of one point and she will now make me rotate. So it's better I keep my mouth shut, because I cannot measure and speak when I'm at home. So I think somewhere the partner should understand that 30 minutes to 1 hour should be given to somebody when he comes back home to just relax and then start a conversation. I think many times I tell, when you're angry, don't talk, send a WhatsApp message. You can just send a simple message. Okay, I need this. Because many times when we speak, there's a lot of harshness, there's a lot of anger in our tones. But when we give a message, the harshness and the tone, only the message is there. Otherwise, what happens? The message gets lost and the messenger gets killed. Now, if Aninda shouts at me, sir, why are you not picking my call? And if she sends me a message and says, sir, please check your mobile, sir, there's an important thing waiting. It's much better, no? The conversation is much better. So silent treatment, people are not giving the silent treatment. People feel they are giving the silent treatment. Is somebody is buying peace by not talking much or getting into a free fight or getting into something. But I think many of the females thrive on the fact that if I make him angry, at least he's conversing with me, at least he's talking to me, or he's
Yes, sir.
busy with his office. So there are different, thought processes to this. But I think men survive by being silent when it comes to their partners. It reduces
Yes.
the noise.
But I also think that couples should also understand, who each other's job and what it entails. Like you have a lot of men where they're doing very strenuous work, whether it's in construction, whichever. So I know most times, especially if you have police officers and firefighters, just what they have to deal with, not only physically, but also mentally. So I'm pretty sure when they come home, it's like a breath of fresh air. You know, they've been dealing with people constantly in their ear, screaming, yelling, probably throwing things at them, especially men in construction. You know, you're dealing with cars honking at you, trying to avoid getting hit by a car or an object. So I know most times when they come home from work, it's kind of like, I need like a few minutes of just silence. Like, I just want to gather my thoughts. You know, it's not the immediate, as soon as you walk in the door, hi, hun, how was your day? Let me tell you about mine. It's kind of like, okay, wait, let me take a few steps back. Let me let him come in, take off his shoes, take a shower, you know, have a little break. Maybe he'll go say hi to the kids. If not, completely understand. Let's let him get back in touch reality before it's like immediately bombarded with all this information, especially after their day. I just know from family members and with acquaintances, with their husbands being out there in the field, especially when it comes with being a firefighter or a police officer, that's usually how it goes in their household. The minute they come in, the wife knows. Before we start asking them questions, let's give them an hour to just decompress. I don't know if you guys are like agree with that, but I know at my standpoint, if my husband was out in that field and doing that, I definitely wouldn't want him coming home and especially talking his ear off of, you know, finding out how his day is. I want him to decompress and get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, actually, like while giving talk to the army people, like we call them men in olive green. So they are going to the battlefield, and when they come home, also they are on the battlefield, because in India, a man is always sandwiched between the mother and the wife, and that fight is non-stop, constantly going on. So I always tell them, at least please don't make your house a battlefield. He has already been in the battlefield. But yes, men and women are from, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. But that is, I believe, it's the only the gendered stereotypes and the society, and because we have been brought up like that. As Gina Rippon said, that it's not a gendered brain. Do we have a female kidney or a female liver? No, we can't have a female brain or male brain. It's because of the societal stereotypes we are being raised up like that, and neuroplasticity happens later on, and we culture changes it. So we can't have a male brain and a female brain. But yes, a woman cannot tolerate a silent treatment, and man needs that silence to be at peace. So, of course, many men avoid talking, because even if women remember what happened at 25th of June at this time, this point of time, but she will not remember if she can lose the diamond set also wear. So that is the cause of the issues. Like, men don't give weightage to small things. And of course, they are already at work when they are. So they are battling too many pressures and all. So everyone wants like to have to be at peace at home. So until a man of the house is at peace, how can you be at the peace? So at least when he comes back, there should not be fights and questions, and that is different. It's because of the raised up, not the biological difference. Biological difference is only the women hormones and mental health. When hormonal changes occur, that is the difference, I believe. And of course, men, I definitely, men are suffering much more in silence than the women. Women nowadays, they keep on, they speak up, they are more vocal about their needs. They can't be, very rarely they can be suppressed. And definitely, yeah, one good thing is, like, if a woman is fighting with you, she loves you. But the moment the woman stops fighting and becomes silent, that is a sign that she has stopped loving you also and caring. That is the difference between man and a woman. A woman will not
If
shout
a
or
woman
fight with a
stops
person. Yeah, of
fighting
course.
with you, that means she
Like,
doesn't love
stop
you?
arguing or stop questioning you. In a couple, if a woman stops questioning or stop, I believe that, and becomes silent and has no reactions to your actions, so that is like love is also over.
I have to get what your
If like,
opinion
if
is on
someone
this,
is come,
doctor.
if I have, because every woman has expectations and they are used to asking for things. If she stops asking, like, where were you? Why didn't you talk to me? Then that means now she's not, it does not affect her anymore. In that way, like silence, I'm saying.
What is your take on that?
Which one, madam?
What is your take on
Like,
what she said, that if the woman stops fighting or asking questions, that means that she's
out
fallen
of love.
out of love?
It's not like that. Even if she's asking question, does not mean she's in love. That's you cannot equate fighting with love.
Not
Because
fighting.
let me
No,
let
no,
me
I'm
explain.
trying to. Hmm.
So at one moment, sometimes the wife also gives up on the husband and she stops
Yes.
asking questions. If he's not getting the answers, that's a different take. What she means is it was just off the cuff remark that the moment she stops, after a period of
Like
persistent
asking questions
questioning,
and yes.
not getting the right type of answers or not getting the answers, one day she also raises and tells enough is enough. I won't be asking any more questions. That means the emotions in the relationship has reduced a little.
Because a woman cannot stay silent, I believe.
I mean, they can stay silent. It's not like that.
Well, it's difficult.
Overwhelm mat karo. It's
No,
little
as
tough.
compared to men and women, I'm telling. In relationships, men
The
express
correlation is
less.
little much more, na? There's,
In all the relationships, men express very less because they have this, like they have to keep everyone happy. Family, not only the children, they have to take care. They have to take care of the finances. They have to take care of the wife. They have to take care of parents, of the office, everything.
Okay. Well, we know that many men were taught that emotions weaken leadership. And as Dr. Amrit had brought up, that when emotions are compressed, postponed, not acknowledged, they fall into other habits to cope with them dealing with emotionally, where they either become drug addicts, alcoholics, they take on violence, becoming abusive. Over long periods of time, you have a lot that they come out of it. They come back in touch with reality, or they finally decide to go and seek for help, seek therapy, whichever it is, trying to get down to the deep cause of what's going on. So when you have that, when it's done, and it's postponed for decades, or as a lot of people will say, that it runs in their genetics. If you have a dad that was very angry, their dad was an angry person, do you feel that that is actually true, like statistically, that anger, emotional problems can run through genetics? It can be a hereditary, or is
yeah.
that just like a way of people trying to make an excuse?
No. We call it as biopsychosocial. There's a biology involved in it. So there's a lot of genetics involved in it. There's a psychology involved in it. Three children of the same parents carry the same genetic load. But one might be violent, one might be silent, and one might be absolutely like me. Not violent, not silent. So, it's not just the biology, it's also the psychology of the individual. Each individual has a different way of coping with stress, coping with what is thrown at it. And next are the psychosocial factors, like somebody has a difficult marriage, somebody has had a layoff, somebody has had a sexual abuse in the childhood, the reactions to them might be a little different. Biology plays a big role, but it's not the only role. You get the point? And you're talking about postponing of emotions also, no? What happens
Yes.
when we postpone emotions? Postponing emotions, it does not, it accumulates. It accumulates. And what happens is at the age of 45 or 50, when everything is in place, everything is getting right, suddenly you have a depressive episode. No reason. Because it has accumulated. These things accumulate. The emotions are accumulating internally. Postponement does not mean it is wiping out the emotions. It is just accumulating, and one day it will break through. What happens is when there is a minor issue, a small argument, a small thing, and then again somebody might explode. So there will be might be emotional flooding in terms of either a anger outburst, severe violence, or maybe severe depression, or maybe during transitions when the child is going from home, you are going to retire, or you are transferred to another place, and then the emotions might just come out. So at this moment, because it is accumulating, suddenly it explodes. Like there's a container and you're pouring water every day, and it's not coming out. It's going in and going. One day you even if it is full, you're pulling two drops, one drop, and one day a single drop might burst the whole container. A minor issue at home, in the workplace, anywhere. So they become depressed, and we call that as mass depression, where they won't be sad, but they will be depressed. So I talked about, people will be very, very low mood. There will be emotional numbness. They'll not be able to express. Many times these things come out as somatic symptoms, maybe gastritis. We see a lot of people having gastritis in India. We see a lot of people having problems with their bowel. We call that irritable bowel syndrome, where men suffer much more than women when it comes to IBS. So the whole psychological thing manifests as physical symptoms. Sleep is one thing which we see, and as people age, their immunity also reduces based on the stress they have taken. They're not been able to emote their stress. Then they're not able to, many times I'm withholding my emotions. So intimacy also reduces. As Aninda was just speaking about, with time, my emotions, my communications become very transactional. It's I need something, I tell. I don't need something, I don't tell. So many of the couples, a majority of the couples now are living in transactional mode. We want to get the children from office, the school. You have to bring this. You have to bring vegetables. You have to do what. But there's no intimacy in terms of emotional intimacy now anymore. And suddenly we see a lot of people now breaking up at the age of 47, 46. Suddenly you see celebrities are now breaking up because there has never been any intimacy. It has become very, very transactional. At one moment, people understand that no, it is I cannot exist anymore. You get the point. And then you also get fatigued by being the elder, being the guardian. So that's a role fatigue. We call it as role fatigue. I'm always silent, but
Compassion
at
fatigue.
one, yeah, compassion fatigue. Alexithymia, I always tell that men are alexithymic. Even though they are emotional, but what they've been taught is become alexithymic. Don't express anything. So, and that's how it is.
Yeah, I love that you bring up the fact that relationships now are more transactional. It hits the nail right on the head because I do see it a lot over here where it's the husband knows his role, as they say. I know what my role is and I know what I have to do. I have to be the man of the house. I have to be the breadwinner. I have to provide financially. And then you have the wife where it's okay, I know what my role is. My role is to take care of the kids. It's to cook. It's to clean. It's to nurture, sitting at home doing homework, all this stuff, run to sports and clubs and dance and whichever. And then yeah, it's the lack of intimacy because the husband is neglected pretty much because the wife is running around aimlessly with the kids or giving all her energy into the kids. And then you have the husband that's out to work and he's coming home and he's just sitting there like, okay, well, what about me? Like, I know we have the kids, but where's my time? Now, since we're on that subject, how can men reclaim emotional literacy without feeling they are losing authority or identity?
Aninda, you will answer or I will answer?
Of course, you will answer the first.
So how can men, can you repeat the question again? I thought it was for
Yes.
Aninda.
Reclaim emotional literacy.
Yeah, how can men reclaim emotional literacy without feeling they are losing authority or identity?
I think first of all you need to understand that expression of emotions is never a sign of weakness or never a sign of any gender. Emotions are there in every individual. The intensity of the emotions might differ from one gender to another, but not expressing is not at all a sign of a healthy individual. So I think somewhere we need to inculcate in our education system, in our generation, next generation, that you need to communicate, you need to emote, you need to express yourself, and we need to teach them how to express. We need to teach them what is the emotions. Emotions, you need to teach them what are emotions. How do you express anger? How do you express sadness? How do you express happiness? How do you express irritability? Every emotion is important in this world. But what happens is the more once you start suppressing, and what is the emotion we suppress the most? It is the sadness, must be. The number of emotions which we suppress is sadness. But ultimately, if you suppress sadness, you also suppress happiness with it. And expression of anger, expression of violence is a sign of manlyhood. I think that is absolutely wrong. I think the most cardinal sign of weakness is aggression. If you look at what defines a weak person is his aggressive nature. He's shouting, he trying to run down people, he or she not getting into in communication. That communication skills are important when we teach our kids. I think we are too late to learn all these things, but the next generation is very, very important. And then we need to tell them that it is absolutely perfect to shed 2 tears when you're not feeling good. It is absolutely fine to smile and clap and laugh when you have won something, or you got a chocolate, or you get something which you have deserved. It's very, very absolutely right to feel angry when somebody tells you something. But the way you express this anger is very important. I always tell to people that it is absolutely fine. Everybody has a right to feel angry. But you don't have a right to throw around things, to abuse, to assault somebody when you're angry. It is not people who are angry, everybody gets angry. But the way you express it is what defines you. At the end, how you express your emotions is what defines you. So we need to teach our children how to express themselves properly. The assertive skills have to be taught to them so that you don't have to get angry to put your point. You don't have to shout to put your point across. You don't have to fight to put your point across. You need to be respectful to the other individual as well as keep your point of view. That's very important. So to be a man is to show your emotions, to show your expressions, but in a controlled and in a very measured manner. That's it.
Absolutely. So it's about being a man does not mean like jhukega nahi sala, as in like I can't bend down. And of course, vulnerability is
No,
strength, and
men are always bending down in front of their partners now. That
that is
phase is
that
gone.
is
When that phase is
that
gone,
that
when
feminism
men
has taken a wrong
now,
turn. Anyways,
even the Indian captain, Dhoni was telling me at the end of the day, when you come home, you have to bend your. You are the
that is
captain of India. The whole of the
yeah,
country is looking
but
at you,
no,
but when you come home, you have to bend
in
down in
house
front of your partner.
the
That's
home is
how
still
that's how you
split
get
now.
peace in the house.
Yes. So that is the thing which has to be changed. That because women think like men are just having fun outside and start fighting. So first of all, of course, the real manhood is not about the expressing anger, and vulnerability is strength. So now again, I will come to my own that similar dialogue that when SRK, he has been most vulnerable. He's on the top of the leader, so leadership cannot be defined by vulnerability or this aggression. He even described the death of his father and his sister suffering from schizophrenia and going into catatonia. That moment also he described on the screen, and very with while crying and with vulnerability. It didn't make him a weak man. And emotions, everyone has, so emotional regulation as a tool, like it has to be started from the school. Now we can't change them. So now I think we can change this, that emotional regulation classes can be started from the school instead of the syllabus of finance minister, because finance minister will change, president and Odisha CM and the Rajasthan CM will change. Feelings, pain, anxiety, crying, all will remain same the moment your child grows up. So we have to teach them that in the school. Even females also have to be taught that, and men also. And men can cry. That is anyways my dream to see on the billboards of everywhere, Burj Khalifa to New York to Bombay.
They're making more movies where you can see where it shows men crying.
No, now they are making the movies where they show that men are they cannot, like in Hindi I can tell I can't bend like jhukega nahi sala, that Pushpa movie, then the stalkers, then in an animal movie they have shown. So now they have stopped in Bollywood, they have stopped showing the sweet chocolate boys, which is necessary to bring back.
Okay. So I know lately I've been watching a lot of movies and shows where the men are actually like
No, I am
crying.
not. I saw the last movie was Animal. That was around 2024. I saw one last movie.
Oh, okay. Now, how does
I didn't
chronic
see anything else.
responsibility affect the nervous system over time?
Yeah, if you look at
Chronic?
chronic responsibility, our body is made for two things. If you look at the basic human body, either fight or flight. You either fight or you run away. So if you're always in a sense of chronic responsibility, means you're always on the edge, either to fight or to run away.
Like,
So you're in a state of adaptive vigilance, and that leads to a lot of dysregulation. So what happens is, if you look at the nervous system, the sympathetic system is always in overdrive. There's the activation of a sympathetic system. Cortisols and catecholamines are very, very important. They are the stress responses. So always they are elevated. The hormonal level are always elevated. What it leads to hyperarousal. So always something might happen. I have to be in control. And if you're always in a state of hyperarousal, you'll become irritable. You will not have proper sleep. I was talking about sleep issues, and you're not even relaxed. You're never relaxed. You're sitting in a beach. You think something might happen. Where did my child go? Where my wife go? Something has happened at home. Office, something is going on. So your brain is always working. Then we have the HPA axis. We call about the. So again, here we're talking about hypercortisolism, where the cortisol levels are always high, and we have stress recovery is very, very tough now. I'm not able to recover. I'm stressed. I'm gone to a place where I want to recover, but I cannot recover. So I'm always in a state of chronic tiredness. I'm always tired. My stress tolerance has become low now, because every time I am taking stress, and this ultimately leads to I'm increasingly becoming vulnerable to two things now: anxiety and depression. So the most common mental disorders we see in India today are depression and anxiety, and I become vulnerable. So ultimately, as I was speaking about, in the long term, it leads to weakening of my immune system. I might develop cancer. If you look at cancer in India, it is gradually decreasing. The age is coming down and the percentage is going down. People are thinking this is because of the nutrition, this is because of the pollution. One of the major issues is this also. We are not taking care of ourselves. The amygdala is another organ which is it detects what is happening around us. So this becomes very, very hyper. So ultimately what happens is we're always thinking that the world is a dirty place. If you look at WhatsApp messages throughout, everywhere there is paranoia. He's going to kill me. This gang is going to do this me. This is going to do this, and continuously our leaders are also building on that. Our leaders, be it any country in the world today, they're thriving on the fact that they're making people fanatical by over. Already people are stressed out. You just have to give them, intense emotional thing that something is going to happen to you. Somebody is going to do this to you. Somebody is going to kill your wife. Somebody is going to take away your children. This is how people, the leaders are thriving now. I'm being very honest. So ultimately, we are not able to trust anybody. So the moment you're not able to trust people, you become more stressed. Now, if you think that your security guard is going to kill you, your partner is going to cheat you, you're always on your guard. You're never on a relaxation mode. And then the prefrontal cortex is always, the inhibitory figures are always, working. Then there are a lot of emotional numbing also. I'm talking about alexithymia. So if you look at chronic things, there's a vagal withdrawal. It leads to emotional numbing. You're not able to feel pain. You're not able to feel happiness. There's no pleasure. I'm not able to feel pleasure anymore. I'm not able to feel happy. So ultimately, my emotions are all flattened. And then there is social withdrawal. If I'm not happy anywhere, I'll withdraw myself from everything. And the only companion might be a glass of alcohol or anything like this. And then I was talking about a lot of somatic symptoms coming in, a lot of GI symptoms. We talked about not passing gas properly, chronic gastritis, and that's how it is. Ultimately, we go on to taking substance, we are depressed, we are anxious, we are not refreshed, we are always chronically tired, we are hypervigilant, we don't trust people, and we are always on the guard. So that's how it is.
Just like body keeps the score, of course, as sir said, like unresolved trauma everyone is having, and people get suffered later, like they suppress their emotions, and then later in the life, suddenly there is a breakdown because our body is keeping the score. And that's why one has to express the emotions, and support is necessary.
Now, many men tie self-worth to productivity or income. So what happens psychologically when illness, job loss, or burnout interrupts the identity?
Like I was talking about all those things. No, when the first question you asked, when men have a specific role as a protector or as a stabilizer, and how does it affect their mental health? One of the things I was talking about is this: when there is a role transition. You're talking about when something like this happens. No, you're talking about अभी क्या बोल रहे थे?
Job
Question क्या?
loss, job loss,
Yeah.
Job
yeah,
loss.
I was talking about those things in the earlier question when you asked when there is a job loss or when there is a transition or when there is a retirement, already they have suppressed their emotions. A small change in the milieu, a small change in the environment makes them burst. So they might go into chronic depression, they might go into severe depression, they might go into severe anger outburst. They might out of the blue, everything was going fine for decades, and suddenly one small stress would make them lose it in any sense, be in terms of their emotions, in terms of their behavior, in terms of they do something which we could not fathom. Why did my uncle, who was doing on so well, at the age of 57 he lost his job? He had enough money, he had a house, his sons are settled, there's no responsibilities. Loss of job made him do this. So the control emotion, the control is gone. So that's what I was talking about. So it's sometimes very, very tough.
because they are holding on to the emotions, and then sudden emptiness is there. Suddenly the emptiness and suddenly the sadness hits, and maybe it's just a one event that can one role transition. And similarly the Indian women's worth, as it is tied with the giving birth to a male child, but Indian man or everywhere men's worth is tied how much he is bringing home,
Yes, we
like
call it
money.
as identity fragility actually. This concept we call it
Yeah,
identity fragility.
identity. Yes.
During these role disruptions, and it might lead to existential crisis. Why am I alive? One of the most important things why people think of ending their life is the existential crisis. I don't have a job. I don't. Nobody is depend. Why should I be alive? And then once the existential crisis comes, somebody might think of doing ending their lives, and that is what is happening. The identity fragility we call it. They are so fragile that if they lose their job or there's something, their identity goes away with it, as if it is all tied to that role they play. Beyond that, they have no role. They think that is what they are. I'm just the doctor, professor who earns this much of money every day. I'm not a father, I'm not a brother, I'm not a social servant, I'm not, the different roles. I'm a friend, I might be a philosopher, I might be a student, there are 100 roles I might have in my life in different situations, but I have identified myself only with one role of a primary bird earner, or somebody who earns money. The moment it goes away, I think that I don't exist anymore. What is the purpose of existing? You got the point,
That
madam?
only I told you. Like provider
You are
role,
the
men have
expert. You are the expert. I am just adding few points to what you said.
expert call.
Expert.
No, men
No, you
are
are the
like, I take favor of back. I'm very neutral and not judgmental in this, because men, like, provider role has been changed to the ATM role. How much he's earning. Nobody asks a man if he's happy or if he's at peace. So that is the problem. Not only anybody, like even women also, nobody nowadays, people are more bothered about, what are you earning, which phone you have, which car you have, instead of are you happy or are you at peace. But that is more with the men.
So I read a study that in 2023, the male suicide rate was 22.8 per 100,000 compared to the 5.9 for females, which is nearly 4 times higher. When it comes to, because I've also have seen on the news that we have had a lot more suicides by men than we have by women, whether it's due to drugs, whichever, them hanging themselves. So when it comes to that, how can clinicians and healers build trust with men who were taught not to ask for help?
If you look at suicide, let us come from suicide. You carried away from suicide. The number of people with completed suicide is much more in males than in females. But if you look at attempted suicide, it is much more in females. Because men generally use violent methods, be it hanging, be it using a gun. Because women generally might take 10 tablets, might you take poison, which is little, the survival rate is much more. The complete rates of completed suicide in men is much, much more. So when it comes to health seeking or help seeking, we talk about, health seeking or help seeking when it comes to their mental illness. One of the major reasons of suicide in this world is mental health issues. I always talk of suicide as having multiple reasons. You can just blame that this is the reason why somebody did this. It might be the precipitant, it might be the last straw, it might be the stressor that I did, but a lot of underlying issues that make somebody think of ending their life with a trigger on. If you look at men, for them, mental distress is always looked at through a moral lens. We look at help seeking as a failure of character. That means I have not been strong enough. I'm coming to Aninda, who is a psychiatrist, for help. I'm distressed means I don't have resilience. So I'm not resilient. And taking therapy or taking treatment means I'm a weak person and I will be dependent on medication. A lot of people talk about medications, being dependent on medications. I told you are dependent on alcohol, you are dependent on maybe cannabis, you are dependent on being sad. But why can't you take something and be dependent on that and be happy and be better off? Men being evaluated, like she was talking, men are evaluated by their functionality, whether they're able to function properly and or not. So men delay help until they lost their functionality. Until I'm not able to work, I will not. But I see a lot of females coming to us. Sir, I don't feel good. I'm not happy with what I have. When men come, it is very, very easy to diagnose. I take 5 to 10 to 15 minutes to diagnose a male. But when a female comes, it takes 30 minutes because they come in the early stage of the illness. They talk about emotions. They talk about how they are feeling. When men come, they tell, I'm not able to work. I'm not able to do anything. It's much easier. Next is stigma is a very important issue, be it in offices, be it in workplaces. So suppose my clinic runs from 9 to 6 and a male works from 9 to 7. Coming to the clinic is not easy for him. He has to take leave. What is the leave he'll take? He'll take sick leave. People will ask, you are fine. You have been working till 2 o'clock. Why do you want sick leave? Because once you're physically ill, you need not hide it. I'm having stomachache, I'm having headache, I'm having a fractured leg, I'm having this. It's everybody sees it. But mental illness people don't see, because and that is where the access is reduced. I prioritize my family over myself and I neglect myself. And if you look at a lot of systems, we don't have very, very, male friendly centers when it comes to mental health. I've seen psychiatrists telling, "Arey, why are you crying? What is this? You are a man. Why do you behave like I've seen psychiatrists talking to men like that. And men are not able to express themselves. It's not that they're not emotional. It's not that they don't feel happiness. I talk about how you express yourself. And men are very, very poor when it comes to expressing themselves in terms of emotions. They don't even know. If you tell them to qualify emotion, they won't be able to do it properly. It's like color. Men will tell red, yellow, green, blue. And you talk to a woman, she'll talk about 20 shades of red. Same also emotions. So men will talk that I'm fine when they're not. And a lot of things. And men, I think, don't trust the system as much as a woman. I have seen a lot of women patients who come to me who trust the system, who trust the treatment. Men don't. They told, can I take medicines for 1 month? Will it be over? They want to have control over everything. And the moment they come to a psychiatrist, they think there is a lack of control. They give the control to the psychiatrist, where he will decide what I will take. He will decide how long should I take the medications. He will decide how much alcohol I should. So the loss of control is also an important thing. And next is the identity threat. You are talking about identity, the identity of being the stabling factor, the concept of me being the protector. Now I am becoming the protected. So the identity is a threat. The identity to me being the stabilizing factor is a threat. And forget masculinity and all that things that is very, very important. And that's how why men, have issues when it comes to help seeking behaviors or health seeking behaviors. There is neglect and there is very, very less. I see more females coming to me, for the mental health issues than men. And when men come, they are grossly psychomotor retarded, very aggressive, very violent, or in a very, very poor state.
Usually severe depression or either
Yeah.
alcohol, some substance use, severe something they reach. Otherwise, they don't come because they are not like they can't. They still feel that it's a sign of weakness, and not only like as a you are saying like general population does not care about mental health, men's mental health, but I have even heard psychiatrists saying why men's mental health committee is needed. So that so I was surprised with this, like why people are neglecting it. Because I am a very big proponent of that. Because real manhood, it's about the monetary, the not about the just curbing your emotions. As there was a advertisement by Levi's unbutton challenge that Twinkle Khanna was unbuttoning the Akshay Kumar's that. So that is unbutton your emotions for men. So unbutton challenge, it should be there, and that is the thing. Like they should unbutton, they should start talking about their emotions. Because women, they go to kitty parties, they go wherever they go in conference, kitty party, they at least talk about the family, they talk about the problems, they start gossiping. Men don't talk. There also they talk about the work or else what kind of beer they drink, just nothing else. They never tell any weakness, any problem they are going through.
So how can, what are the 2 to 3 realistic first steps that men can take if they recognize they are carrying too much?
First of all, I think they need somebody with whom they can, talk to. A very important point is how they are feeling, why they are feeling. Somebody who will not judge them, somebody who will listen to them, somebody who will understand them, somebody who will appreciate their feeling, somebody who can tell them that it is okay, you can talk whatever you want to talk. So that is the entry point. And I think somewhere we need to change the concept. Many times when you talk about mental health, people think that I have some mental illness. We talk about health with both the physical and the mental component in it. It is very important that we talk to men. That I always talk to people when they talk to me, why should I take medications? I tell them that it will increase your efficiency, it will increase your productivity. When you talk about the enhancement of their roles, the role identities they have, they will immediately take hold of it. But if you tell that you're feeling weak, you're not able to emote what you want to say, then they'll think, no, no, I don't need it. But the moment you talk about increased productivity, improving the way they work, maybe they will get a raise because of that, maybe they get a promotion because of that. Somewhere all these things are holding them back. They'll understand. Somewhere if I tell them that you're being aggressive, you're not being able to aggress, is keeping you back. Somewhere you're not able to relate to your teammates. Somewhere, so you need to, ultimately they understand that they need help. But it is how you package it and how you give it to them is important. Otherwise, they will have a lot of stigma. And I think access, maybe we should have more evening clinics where they can come at 7, 8 o'clock without anybody knowing. So somewhere a lot of stigma attached to mental health. The moment we have to do something, and the best way to do is get them better and let them talk. If I take care of Aninda and make her feel better, she goes there and tells to 3 people that yes, look, one day I was also suffering like this and I went to a psychiatrist and look at what I am. So nobody will judge me, nobody will, so that's how we do it. So somewhere we need to use languages that gives dignity to people. We don't when we talk to people, when we talk about their mental health illness, and that's how I think those are the major issues in which the way we talk to them, the way they allow them to talk, the way we appreciate they are coming out with whatever they have in the beat, whatever manner they want to speak, and that's how we can help them. And these are the 3 4 simple things by which we can help somebody who is in need.
Absolutely. Non-judgmental attitude and unconditional
And
acceptance.
confidentiality. I won't be disclosing this to anybody. Confidentiality is a very important thing.
Yes, confidentiality, non-judgmental, and unconditional acceptance. I have actually got that from everybody. Unconditional acceptance and non-judgmental attitude. So that is very, very important. And not only, everyone needs a safe space to talk about. One cannot go and start talking about their emotions. Especially men, they absolutely need a safe space where they feel that they will not be judged on the basis of telling their weakness. Then only a man is vulnerable only in front of a woman whom he actually loves, like who he trusts and loves, that of course that she's not going to judge. That is the first sign of the very good intimacy, I guess. And men, it should be like from beginning only, it should be taught to the men that you are not weak, and it is not judged by what you earn, what you do. And never forget living your life while just making a living for everyone, and take care of yourself.
Now, to wrap this all up, this was a beautiful time with the both of you. Now, if there's one message, I know there was a lot of messages within this episode, but one last message that you would leave for men who are quietly carrying everything, what would you tell them?
I tell to all the men that who have carried more than they were allowed to speak, please speak out. Because what you have endured is not because you were weak, it was because you were responsible. But responsibility does not mean that you are only responsible for others, you're also responsible for your own well-being. So speak out, seek help. You're never too weak if you seek help. So you become stronger when you ask for help.
I will just say that, of course, self-care is not selfish, and first you have to take care of on your own self. You are irreplaceable at your job at any time, at your position, but not at your family and not at your life. So self-care is most important thing for everyone, men, women, everyone. You cannot take care of anyone you cannot pour in from an empty cup. And actually November is celebrated as a men's mental health movement, and me and sir had written an article. I will be sending that for the CrownCast, reframing manhood. So it was written by me and sir. I will send you. It has about like what is the redefining masculinity and what is manhood about. And like in Odisha or Maharashtra, there are some circles, like men's friend circles are there about all that.
Beautiful. I love it. I want to thank you both for your time today, and especially bringing men's mental health and wellness front and center and put out there, because like I said before, it's something that's really not talked about. We more focus on the women and the kids, which yes, is important, but also without men, the world can't go round. So women can't do everything. Even though we try, we can't. So again, I want to thank you both for your time. And this is going to conclude episode 2 of the Inner Kingdom series. Everyone have a great day.